and going back to my Oregon homerism. The 4-year stretch when Chip Kelly was running roughshod over college football with his offense, but with recruiting classes that were in the 20s. I think one year they were top 12, but for the most part, those recruiting years, they were in the 20s, which is why the Willie Lyles thing was always so funny. Because it's like, wait a minute, Chip's not a big-time power play recruiter. What?
We call him Will. Great story. Great. Still funny all these years
Still
later.
funny. Hey, Will, you need to put together a scouting package so we can justify that we paid you $25,000. Okay, here's the scouting package. 2 of these players are dead.
In the grand scheme of things, nothing happened, right?
Actual, real thing that happened. Anyways, moving on. But Chip, I thought, back then, did a tremendous job. And I'll give credit to not only Bellotti, but that entire staff. Found guys that fit the offense. LaMichael James, I don't believe, works in 80% of the offenses in college football. But LaMichael James, in that offense, worked. Darren Thomas doesn't start quarterback for any other team going to a bowl game. But Darren Thomas, running Chip Kelly's offense, just flat worked. And I think that what Mike Leach was able to do was in his air raid offense, where you need a certain skill set, the guys that he would go out and find, and he just had an eye for quarterbacks that just flat out worked. And some of them gone on to play in the NFL. Some of them have not. But when they're in the Mike Leach offense and the air raid is going and they're running those crossing routes and everything else, it's like they just got to find guys that just worked.
They were annoyingly good for so long.
For so long.
Like, oh, yeah, 5 yards. Oh, they're just going to run a slant. Oh, you're going to stop it? We'll run another slant. And another one. And another one.
And you think you've got them down. They're going to keep throwing. They're not going to stop. They're going to keep throwing the ball. Hey, this might be the part where they run. Nope, they're going to keep throwing. But anyways, so Gardner Minshew gets a second life. He has an unbelievable season, gets picked up by the Jaguars, and now is like in, I think, year 7 or 8 of an NFL career where he was a starter for the Colts last year. He's going to be a starter for the Raiders this year, where this was a dude that was on track to being, I don't know, offensive coordinator at Tennessee Martin. You know what I mean? Maybe he was on track to be but that's what his football just like. I'm going to go to Alabama, and well, who's the former Beeve quarterback that went to Ohio State? Brenden. I lost him. He's looking stuff up on Google. Who was the Beeve quarterback that went to Ohio State?
Tristan Gebbia. He's back now.
Tristan Gebbia. It was kind of like, I think like Minshew was kind of like that. It was like Jebby's like, I'm going to go to Ohio State. I'm going to be like 4th string.
Pretty much.
but I'm going to get in this network, and if I ever want to coach,
Then conveniently he was able to go back to his alma mater's like a graduate assistant.
And now he's a graduate assistant. He's on his way to being an assistant coach somewhere and starts the path. Like that's where Gardner Minshew was headed. And then boom, a tragic twist of fate, which turned into a silver lining on an incredibly dark cloud, puts him into the NFL. But the other funny thing is, if you think about it now, Gardner Minshew was a guy, talk about ahead of his time. His yardage and his productivity at East Carolina, in 2024, he would be a top transfer portal guy. But back then, what was it? Trying to think, was it 2018? I think it was 2018 was the year of Minshew Mania. And 2018, there was a transfer portal, but you had to wait a year. There was no NIL. There was no quarterback carousel like there is today. If he was playing quarterback at East Carolina like he did in 2017, in 2023, he would be on so many coaches' big-time portal list guys. So he's the starter for the Las Vegas Raiders. The Broncos haven't named a starter. It's going to be Bo Nix. If you just watch it, use your eyeballs. And once again, and we'll talk about this on the other side. The fact that we're still talking about the Bo Nix stuff back at Auburn is comical and laughable. I don't know. I think Bo's a little. I saw some haters on the internet. It's like, oh, he's a little bit over. It's like he's proven for the last 2 years in college, and now for a third year in the NFL, that he's a legit big-time quarterback. And you're still bringing up stuff from his sophomore year of college, which was, by the way, 5 years ago, because he played in college a really long time. But Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams shining. Is Russ cooked? I know I've been obsessed with quarterbacks this preseason, but there is plenty of quarterback discussion to have and to obsess over. So we dive into that coming up next here on 620 Rip City Radio. We have joked that preseason NFL football is the Red Baron pizza of the football world. It's not great. It's not even really all that good, but it's still pizza, right? Yeah, it's the Red Baron that's forgotten about in the back of the freezer, and just you find it and you're like, you know what? Let's throw that Red Baron in there, or maybe you're a little broke at the end of a month, and you're like, we got $4. What? Let's get a couple Red Baron pizzas. Like, it's not good, but
it's not the worst.
It's
we
not
determined
the worst.
that college football is the nasty school-plated lunch pizza, right? Like college football preseason, I should say.
Yeah, like scrimmages, fall camp.
Yeah,
that is the square, spongy.
Yeah, the lunch lady bringing
lunch
out
lady pizza.
Yeah.
Again, and I know we talked about it before. I don't want to get off on too big of a tangent. It is amazing to me that in the 80s when I grew up, where there was no internet, and I would imagine no communication between lunch cafeteria workers, yet we all had the same pizza. Coast to coast.
Trade secrets, my friend.
North to south, everybody had the same pizza. Now, nonetheless, but every once in a while, if you get that Red Baron pizza and you hit it just the right temperature, and you can maybe try to convince you know what, this isn't too bad, and can try to convince yourself that you like it. I think that's where maybe some Bronco fans are today. I think that's where a lot of Bears fans are today. I think that's where some Commanders fans are today, because three familiar rookie quarterbacks to all of us on the West Coast, one, of course, being Bo Nix, who was at Oregon the last 2 years, and then Caleb Williams, who was at USC, and Jaden Daniels, who was at Arizona State 5 years ago, but nonetheless finished his career with a Heisman Trophy performance last year at LSU. All three of them looking really good in the preseason. And let me start off by saying this. I understand it's just preseason, but if you're going to look like anything in preseason, good, much better than bad. You know what I mean? Like, I always love, yeah, it's just preseason. It's like, okay, but what if they look bad in preseason? Russell Wilson looking in your direction. What if you look bad in preseason? Then you've got maybe even a bigger problem. But I watched replays and highlights of the Commanders game. I can't say I watched the Commanders preseason game, fully through. Watched almost the entire first half and all of the snaps that Bo Nix took yesterday on NFL Network in the preseason. Now it's week 2 of the preseason. And again, I'm far from a quarterback expert, and I'm sure there's some sort of crazy statistical thing. I'm just watching with my eyeballs, and you can see rookie quarterbacks who are comfortable, and you can see rookie quarterbacks who are scared. Bo Nix looks so comfortable playing the quarterback position.
He's got, 6 years experience?
He's got a lot of experience, none of which are in the NFL, but he looks so incredibly comfortable playing NFL football. Now, maybe Sean Payton is an incredibly good coach, and he understands the nuances of preseason, and maybe he understands that these are the situations that I need to put my young rookie quarterback in. Also, by the way, I should say Michael Penix looking very, very good. So Michael Penix looking so good, he's not going to play week 3 of the preseason.
He looks so good he won't play all year.
I've got a Michael Penix conspiracy theory coming up in just a few minutes. Do not let me forget the Penix conspiracy theory, because these West Coast quarterbacks going from college to the NFL, I mean, again, preseason, but it feels kind of like a new generation. I mean, we saw a couple years ago kind of the changing of the guard. It started with Patrick Mahomes, but it also included Justin Herbert. It included Joe Burrow. It included Josh Allen. It included Trevor Lawrence, and it included Lamar Jackson in there as well. Like, we have seen kind of the younger generation, and now you have got a group of rookies that was I think record number of quarterbacks taken in the first round in the draft. And Drake May did not look that great, but of
I think we're looking good on that take.
That one's looking pretty good. But of the 5 quarterbacks that were taken, I believe, in the first round, 6, I should say, because I forgot about J.J. McCarthy. He's hurt. J.J. McCarthy looked good before he got hurt. Williams, Daniels, Nix, Penix. I don't think any of those GMs are sweating the fan base right now. They all look really good, which is exactly what you're supposed to do in the preseason and put them up there in a position to win. So let's go to Bo Nix. Because, again, he has been a part of our football life for like the last 6 years. There is a thing in corporate America, and it is, and maybe it's in all corporate America, I don't know, but it's in this industry. They made a joke about it on The Office that essentially, if you come into a business at the ground level, at the entry level, as they call it, even as you get promoted, most people still see you as what you first walked in the door as. It's an unfortunate part of corporate America. The joke on The Office was Ryan Howard, right? He was Ryan the temp. He's like, yeah, no, I'm a salesperson now. It's like, yeah, no, you're not. You're Ryan the temp. It's like, no, I work for corporate now. I'm your boss. Like, yeah, temp, fire guy. We've all probably dealt with it. And I remember when I was first starting off in radio, I got my first job. I won a contest. I didn't intern. I didn't start with updates. I didn't fill it. I won a contest one day, and 2 weeks later, I had a show. Not a good one. And after about 3 years, I built it up, and the show was pretty good, and we had some sponsors, and I remember going like, why does everybody keep treating? And this old veteran radio guy was like, dude, till you get out of this building, you are the contest winner. That's all. And Brenden, I'm wondering if that's how we're looking at Bo Nix. Bo Nix had the hot, cold freshman, sophomore, and I think even junior seasons at Auburn, where you would see him make out-of-this-world plays, and then you would see him make just, that was me slapping my forehead-slapping decisions, going, what on earth are you thinking? Because he was, 20 years old. He was 19 years old when he started against Oregon down there in Dallas, Texas. Broke my heart, ruined my 40th birthday. I've forgiven him. He gave me 2 years of great Oregon football. But you look at what Bo Nix has done the last 2 years. Why is it such a surprise to some people? Now, maybe this is just some haters on the internet that I need to just block out of my life. But it's like, why is it such a surprise that Bo Nix is going into the NFL and playing as well as he is? It should not be a surprise. Look at if you never knew anything from Auburn, if I gave you the Men in Black normalizer, I think that's what it was called, right? If I gave you is Men in Black still a good reference for memory erasing?
For me, yes. Anyone younger than me, probably not.
Probably not. All right. So in Men in Black, Will Smith would, back when we liked Will Smith, but there was
Have we not let him out of timeout yet?
No, never forget.
Okay.
I might.
I don't. Yeah.
I might move on, but I'll never forget when he acted like I just a complete.
America, Justin, we love a good comeback story. So.
What a jackass. We never forgave Kanye fully for what he did to Taylor Swift.
Is true.
And I venture to say what Will Smith did to Chris Rock was way worse than what Kanye did to Taylor Swift. And that lives on forever, probably because Taylor's never going to let us forget it either. Neither here nor there. If I could just erase your memory and go like, forget everything that Bo Nix did at Auburn and just look at what he did at Oregon, are we really all that surprised that he's going to be as a rookie who was a top 10 pick and is going to be the starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos? It shouldn't be, because I am a terrible QB scout. I've admitted as much. I am a terrible QB scout. Quarterbacks I watched playing college football, I'm like, oh, that guy's going to be a legend in the NFL. Didn't make it. Really thought Vince Young was the guy. Really did. I was like, well, the guy clearly going to revolutionize football, and never quite did.
Yeah.
And then there are guys where I was like, Josh Allen, I was like, nah, I don't see it. I don't get it. And it's like, There it is, you big dumb doofus.
I do remember Josh Allen being like, it was like, oh yeah, the Ducks like crushed Wyoming. I'm like, that guy supposed to be a first-round pick.
Yeah,
so
I think I went on the radio.
Yeah.
I think I might have done a post-game show.
Yeah.
For that game, and maybe threw a couple of hot takes out there. Other than Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen if not for Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen might be one of the best of his generation. So that being said, I would be a terrible scout. But the one thing I do know is that I believe accuracy translates more than any other thing in the NFL. And if you are inaccurate in college, I don't know how you're going to get even more accurate when you go to the NFL when every DB is lights out All-American type player. And so Bo Nix is passes 77% in college football last year. He was above 75% for his 2 years at Oregon. Accuracy translates. This should not surprise anybody that Bo Nix is thriving. Not preseason, but it should not surprise anybody that he's thriving. Yes, Brenden.
Do you know whose record he broke? Well, in general, I would say you're correct, Justin, but there's an absolutely egregious error that's going to not hold water in this conversation. Bo Nix did break that record at 77%, but he broke Mac Jones's record. So I think you're onto something, yes, and that was kind of the criticism.
Okay, now I'm not saying that accuracy equals greatness. What I am saying is inaccuracy is going to equal
totally.
It ain't going to make it.
Yeah.
So it's a baseline I believe you have to start with. If you are inaccurate in college, and I'm sure maybe there's some example
Anthony
out there.
Richardson, he threw over 50% of passes in college, and here he is.
Let's see what happens. Let's let him play a full NFL season.
It's true.
But it's very rare when you get for a quarterback to go from inaccurate to accurate in the NFL where everybody gets faster.
It's true.
It's just that doesn't make a lick of sense.
Oh, but yeah, like with that, like that was the only criticism. I remember around draft time, that was the only criticism of Bo Nix were his numbers slightly inflated because
he's checked down Charlie. Right. The offense was set up for him, and it's like
you and I knew better than that. But nationally, I mean, even though Oregon was still national brand, Pac-12. I wonder if how many players or how many people sat there and said, I'm going to watch all 12, or 13 of Oregon's
Okay,
Bo
do
Nix
you
games.
think it's more of the Oregon thing, or I still believe it is people hanging on to that Auburn stuff? It's like,
could be.
Guy got injured. He had a coaching change. Got to change the scenery. Bo Nix got his groove back, and he crushed everybody except Washington.
He did.
For 2 years.
He lost 5 games in 2 years.
Yeah, one of which was to Georgia.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
3 of which were to Washington. And the beef game. No, boy.
Hey, give us our one, man. It might be our one for a long time.
Can't really say that one was on him.
No, no, it was not.
The last time I checked, he did not play defensive line. But neither here nor there.
But no, I thought those criticisms were unfounded.
Lose 5 games in 2 years, set the record for accuracy, in the Heisman, all of that, and it's like, well, I can't believe Bo Nix was. Yeah, of course he's going to be in the mix to be the starter. That dude is really, really good. He's an He had a rough sophomore year at Auburn, and couldn't beat Georgia or Alabama. Well, he beat Alabama actually, but couldn't beat Georgia. Turns out. A lot of people couldn't beat Georgia. And I had to deal with Brian Harsin as head coach. I mean,
that's tough. Brian Harsin, probably fine for Boise. Probably not the best down in Auburn, Alabama.
Is he back at Boise now?
Yeah, he's just chilling. I think he's high school.
Is he coaching high school football?
Yeah. But Justin,
well, Auburn's paying.
Yeah, if you're him, you're like, why would I do anything else when I just got to walk down to the mailbox and get the check from Auburn?
That's got to be such a tough thing. It's
so big.
And I want to talk about this coming up on campus. In the last 3 hiring cycles, colleges have agreed to pay this is the last 3 years, $300 million.
Monopoly money, baby.
To fired head coaches. $132 million were paid last year to guys to not coach football. Now, that doesn't even factor in the amount of money that they would have had to pay out if they did not get another job.
Yeah, I'm no expert, Justin, but Brian Harsin got about $8.5 million lump sum to leave. I'm guessing that goes pretty far in the Boise suburbs.
I think so.
Just a guess, though.
So, yeah, the fired head coaches thing. Unbelievable.
I mean, honestly, Justin, like maybe in hindsight, like last point on this is maybe you and I missed the boat. Could have just been a head coach or worked our way into coach's career. You know, you build up your whole career and then you get one job and you go, all right, just shut it down, man.
Well, I mean,
that seems that's tongue in cheek, but you know what I mean. Like, someone like Ed Ogeron. Ed Ogeron will never have to work again.
Yeah, but we completely discount the years and years and years that Ed Ogeron spent grinding it out and going to high school football games. Because I'm with you. It's like $17 million to walk out the door. What door do you want me to walk out of?
Seriously,
I'm good, but. There's 20 years of him going to crappy high school football games and sitting on bad bleachers and talking to dumb coaches and dumb parents trying to get
dumb parents has got to be the worst.
It's got to be. Even like Mark Helfrich. I think Oregon is still paying Mark Helfrich. I think.
How is that possible?
Well, because he's not coaching anywhere, and it's like I think it's like $2 million a year or something. They're like still.
They owed him that much, huh?
I think he took like the Bobby Bonilla type.
Oh,
he's like,
nice.
dude, you just pay me. And Oregon was happy to do it because they're like, that's a big chunk of money that's now off the books. It might have ended last year, but I want to say like they were paying him for like a good 8 years, like $2 million a year. And it's like, what a life. Like and I think he still lives in Eugene.
Yeah, it was a $9 million lump sum.
But then they paid it out, though, over the year. So he got paid like $1.5 million a year. And he's like, yeah, I'll just go be a football analyst somewhere, and I'll do a little TV here and raise my family. $9 million in Eugene goes a long way. But the thing we forget was Mark Helfrich, who grew up in Coos Bay and played for Marshfield and then went to Southern Oregon University. Shout out to the Raiders. He grinded it out as an assistant at Boise, as a graduate, and he went into Colorado and nearly missed getting fired with the entire staff of Dan Hawkins. And like, that's a lot of years of watching film and glad handing and recruiting and being on the road and not being around your family. And then, yeah, I guess you kind of understand why some of these coaches are like, yeah, I'm just going to chill.
I think of a guy
like I haven't seen my family in 18 years. I've been trying to get high school football players to play football for me. $8 million, sit, coach high school football, be home by 5?
Yeah.
I'll do that.
I think no one, we saw a lot of this, Justin, with, the obviously the COVID and NIL and everything. But one of the best examples that I had, you probably know well, Bronco Mendenhall had BYU rolling. They were one of the most consistent programs there were. He goes, yeah, I'm just kind of done with the NIL world, and just steps away at like the peak of his, coaching ability. And I think that I just found that interesting.
Saban is like fine, and he was of retirement age.
Sure.
But I got to imagine the NIL stuff was like made it nice, easy. You know what? Oh, speaking of NIL, did you see old Mike Gundy this weekend? Mike Gundy,
mullet,
was like basically came full-throated. Stop having your agents call us. There's a transfer portal in December. We'll renegotiate then. I'm done. I'm done hearing about your NIL complaints. And I'm
That's
like,
cool.
That's one way to handle it. Anyways, what were we talking about? Oh, yeah, Bo Nix. But, yeah, I mean, just like the fact that Bo Nix struggled at Auburn is still, like, seared into people's mind of, like, when he was 20 years old. And now, like, he's had 2 years at Oregon. He's going to be good. It looks – and, again, I sat there and tried not to overdo it emotionally, which is hard for me because I am an emotional football fan, probably like most of you. I'm an emotional football fan. And Brenden, on Saturday, as the storm was coming down, sitting on my back porch in my covered patio with my backyard TV, watching the thunder, watching the lightning, listening to the thunder. And I'm also watching the Pittsburgh Steelers play a preseason football game, and Russ does not look good. Matter of fact, Russ looks kind of cooked. It is, I don't know if it's time to panic at Pittsburgh, but that doesn't look like That doesn't look like 2019 Russ, which is who we were all hoping he would be. Man, wonder what happened. We'll see what happens in the regular season. Regular season is not, obviously, is a couple weeks away. A lot can happen between now and then. But I'm sitting there watching Bo Nix going like, God, it must be nice having a future and a hope at quarterback. And then I'm watching Russ, and I'm like, Russ looks cooked. It might be a long year. Might be a long year in the AFC North. All right. Speaking of long years, we mentioned the buyouts that are going on. Ross Dellinger, we've had Ross on the program before. Ross Dellinger, Yahoo Sports, put out his hot seat list. One familiar name just down the I-5 corridor on the hot seat list. We'll talk about that on campus next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, we are getting close. We are getting close. Last Saturday, when the rain was coming down upon us, when there was thunder and lightning here in the Pacific Northwest, it might have been a sign from the universe. Like, this is the last Saturday you shall have with no college football, as we are 12 days away from kicking off Oregon and Oregon State's football season. Florida State shall be taking on Georgia Tech in Dublin. That's a 9 a.m. kickoff local time.
Yeah, I was talking to some reporters that were going, man.
They're
I'm
going?
jealous.
You know people that are going?
Friends of the program, people that we had,
Okay.
like for instance, friend of the program, Cam Miller, talked with him end of last week, tried to get him on the show. He's like, hey, I'm heading out to Ireland. I go,
I'm going to be in Dublin.
Or like all-time great college football road trip.
So that's going to be this Saturday, and obviously we are 12 days away from Oregon and Oregon State kicking off their season. Now, obviously, Oregon has no worries at head coach. As a matter of fact, there was a video about it that Oregon put out in terms of Dan Lanning basically going full Jordan Belfort, I'm not leaving. And then Oregon State now is welcoming in Trent Bray. So no hot seat in the Willamette Valley, and no hot seat really up in Seattle with Jed Fish in his first season, essentially plugging the leaking boat that Kalen DeBoer left as he headed out to Alabama. But that does not mean that there's not a familiar name on Ross Dellinger's hot seat list. 12 days of college football. We're already talking hot seats. Let's go on campus. All right, here's what's going to be interesting. Now that there's a 12-team playoff, most coaches, if they get on a hot seat, unless they are at a crazy high-level program, like, for instance, Florida, most coaches, though, that are on a hot seat, the way to turn the temperature down, simply make a bowl game. Make a bowl game. Get an upset win. Get to a winning record. Get to a bowl game. Now that you've got a 12-team playoff, boy, I don't know if bowl games are going to carry the same weight that they used to. I don't know if fan bases are going to care that you are in the Chick-fil-A Bowl or that you are in the Alamo Bowl. Like, the Alamo Bowl used to be a good season for former Pac-12 teams or even Big 12 teams. Holiday Bowl used to be a very nice bowl game to go to. Is the one bowl game Oregon State never could quite get to.
I mean, I don't know.
They just tippy-toed and do-si-doed around that Holiday Bowl, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
It used to be a big deal.
If Oregon State or Washington State went to the Alamo or the Holiday Bowl this year, I think they'd be pretty happy.
So happy. Absolutely, 100%. But what I'm wondering is, now that there's a 12-team playoff, where you see coaches like Billy Napier at Florida, probably on the hottest of the hot seats.
Hey, he made a bowl game, Justin.
He did make a bowl game. Didn't end up well.
Pretty good one, too.
Vegas Bowl, that didn't help the Billy Napier cause.
I don't think Florida's used to losing to Oregon State by 30-some points.
And not being nationally relevant at all, while Georgia has become the team in the SEC East. Now, I know there's no more divisions in the SEC, but Billy Napier's buyout is $27 million right now.
Sheesh.
Which is, these agents got smart, man. They're like, yeah, you want to get crazy and start firing coaches, fine. It's going to cost you, Chief. Second on the hot seat, Dave Aranda at Baylor. Baylor's a private school, so they don't really know the contracts. They estimate his buyout somewhere around $20 million. Sam Pittman at Arkansas. Now, according to this article, buyout range is so wide. It's between $8 and $12 million because of an unusual buyout clause in his contract. It requires that he be owed 75% of his remaining salary if he's fired, with a winning percentage of 50% or more. He'd be owed 50% of his salary if his winning percentage was below that mark. Brenden, he's 23 and 25.
That's an awesome. I love that agent negotiating.
He's 23 and 25. If he can get himself to 26, and if he can go 3-0 and get 26 and 25, like, yeah, you can fire me, but now it's going to cost you $12 million. But the name I want to talk about that I am interested to discuss, because it's a very familiar name. He's a 5'4" guy. I don't like talking bad about 5'4" guys, but we got to do it. Justin Wilcox at Cal, $15 million buyout, which for Cal might as well be $100 million, because Cal has the country's biggest athletic department debt. the entire country of sports, Cal has the biggest debt, which is why.
As it turns out, it was really expensive to make a stadium built on top of a fault line.
Well,
be able to renovate it. Like that's where this came from.
They tried to renovate it, and
they
then
did. It was
have
like $500 million. They didn't have any money to pay for. So
they really did that, but they have the biggest. He's 36-43 in 7 seasons at Cal. Now, again, in context here, what Justin Wilcox built at Cal was kind of amazing. Because he did not – was it Sonny Dykes who left? Like, Sonny Dykes was there, and they were okay.
He was fired.
I think made the Armed Forces Bowl once with Jared Goff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, like, they were never going to compete for titles the way they did with
Tedford.
with Aaron Rodgers and Jeff Tedford. Like, it was those days were gone because, again, of the financial part of it. They were not invested. Their facilities were one of the worst, if not the worst, in the former Pac-12. And Justin Wilcox took the job, made them competitive. They became the ultimate thorn in the side, right? They were never going to win the conference, but it was never a game you could really overlook.
Always a good defense.
Because they will show up, and they will be well coached, and they will be the thorn. But it never really quite built, which is interesting because there were a lot of Oregon fans and some Oregon alum that were clamoring for Oregon to go hire Wilcox 2 years ago when they hired Dan Lanning. I wonder if Joey wants his letter back. Love Joey. He's always been very nice to me. Wonder if he wants his letter back because going outside the family and getting a defensive coordinator from Georgia might have been the right move.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And I love Justin Wilcox, and I love his family and family. That's how they say it in Junction City. I'm wondering, does Cal care enough to actually have him on the hot seat? Or are they like, look, we're in the ACC. We just got to try to find a way to make some money?
Probably the latter. But here's the thing. They are one of my sneaky teams to watch in 2023, Justin.
Okay. I did not know you had a sneaky team to watch in 2023. I'm glad we got it official.
I'm always carefully looking. And again, I was previewing their game against Oregon State. Cal's going to be sneaky good this year.
Right, they're playing the Beavs this year.
I'm not saying 10 wins, but it would not shock me if Cal went 7-8 wins this year.
All right, what do we got? Like 15 seconds?
Yeah, give or take.
All right. Well, I can't do my favorite thing to do, which is
we can circle back to it.
Look at schedules. I'm kind of over it. All right, keeping an eye on Cal this year.
Yeah,
Sneaky team to watch.
I would.
All right, on the other side, we have got Joel Gunderson of ScoopDuck's going to join us in the second hour. I got some crazy stuff I saw on the internet revolving the flag football team for the United States. Plus, Michael Penix's conspiracy theory. That's next on 620 Rip City Radio.
7 a.m. here on a Monday. Brenden Slaughter with you. Bo Nix shines for the Denver Broncos in a 27-2 win over the Green Bay Packers, going 8 of 9 with 2 touchdowns and 2 scoring drives, looking like Bo is the leader to be the Broncos starting quarterback this season. And Hideki Matsuyama wins the 2024 FedEx St. Jude Championship over on the golf side of things. And back over to football, Boise State names Maddox Manson. That's a tongue twister. Starting quarterback, edging out number 1 overall 2023 recruit Malachi Nelson, who had transferred over from USC. Coming up here in about 20 minutes, we're going to catch up with Joel Gunderson from ScoopDuck, talk some Oregon Ducks and a whole lot more. You've got Rip City Mornings, Hour 2, coming up.
Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. Hopefully you are having a fantastic Monday morning. As Brenden just told you in the update, Joel Gunderson is going to join us. We're 12 days away from Oregon football kicking off. It's been a fairly quiet fall camp, I would say, from an Oregon perspective. I think that's ultimately a good thing. Turns out there's some disagreements, Brenden, down in Corvallis of who people think is going to be the starting quarterback.
Debates are in the streets. Source off, Justin.
It is.
Who's got better sources?
I love a good source off. Well, the Beaver quarterback situation is interesting because in all reality, and I don't mean this mean-spirited because Beaver fans think I always do. I don't mean this mean-spirited. It doesn't matter who your quarterback's going to be until week 3. It just doesn't for Oregon State.
Maybe week 2?
You think that's going to matter? Like, do you think it's going to that's not, I don't think that's a game where many Oregon State fans are going like, we got to get our together.
The fact that it's on the road concerns me a little. That's I'll say this, Justin, like the entire room I've seen 2 scrimmages, handful. It's just been underwhelming. So I'm, to your point, like there was some back and forth, like, hey, and to your point, it's like, I don't think it matters in the sense, like, nobody's done enough to be like, yeah, I feel real great about that guy.
So start off the season, it's Idaho State. Then on the road to San Diego State. But San Diego State kind of stinks.
They were 4-8 a year ago, new coach. But, that kind of uniforms are magic. They're always sneaky tough, man. But yes.
You're right. I shouldn't completely. But I'm saying if you still are Oregon State and you don't know by week 2, I think you're still going to be okay. By week 3, you better have it figured out.
Yep.
That is your most significant game of the season in terms of eyeballs on your program. Not even close. Is that game on Fox?
I know. Biggest TV game of the year.
Biggest TV game of the year.
By CW or CBS Sports Network, bring in Fox.
Yeah. So.
Think we get real TV money that game too, Justin?
Yeah, I think so.
Nice.
It's the only reason why you continue to play that game. That's the only reason why Civil War is in existence. It's like it's a paycheck for the Beavs. And it's going to be, it's going to add a lot of different revenue. But yeah, if you're Oregon State, Idaho State, were they even a thing in FCS last year?
Not really.
Did they? Okay.
I don't believe so.
Perfectly scheduled game then.
Yeah, totally.
Perfect get-right game. Give the old Bengals from Pocatello?
Yeah.
Give the old
nice
Bengals
ball.
from Pocatello a nice paycheck, right? Then you get into the game against San Diego State. So another 7:30 kickoff. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, is that Eastern time? Is it 4:30 kickoff?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
They'll be favored, but that game will be, like you said, you probably don't need to have it figured out.
You should probably have somewhat of an idea, but you better have it figured out by week 3. But you could, theoretically, if you're Oregon State, treat Idaho State and San Diego State like the NFL teams treat the preseason games, where he's like, both guys are going to get a look, especially week 1. Like, Week 1, it really doesn't matter. I know that we obsess over who is going to be named the starter, especially in college, because a lot of these coaches are holding the cards close to their vest. For Oregon State, sorry, it doesn't matter. It's Idaho State. You're going to kick the dog out of them. You're going to pay them a good chunk of that Pac-12 money that you got stashed away. And hopefully you may get a look at some different guys. The other thing that's interesting is because we don't know how Trent Bray is going to handle this as a head coach. Like, that's the one thing that I am fascinated by. You think you know somebody, and I don't say that as a mean way. You think you know a guy, but I've seen plenty of, and I think the Chip Kelly thing was a prime example at Oregon. Every Oregon fan thought they knew Chip Kelly, the offensive coordinator. They thought they knew him. They're like, yeah, put him up there. He's going to be the head coach. And it's like, oh, no. This guy's running things very, very differently. Thought you knew Mario Cristobal. It's like, oh,
very true.
Recruiting coordinator under Taggart, and he's lighting up the scoreboard. Halftime adjustments weren't his thing, but could light up a scoreboard. Really, say what you will about Willie Taggart teams at Oregon, or team at Oregon, they got out of the locker room fast. Sometimes they stumbled after that, but they got out of the locker room fast. And then so you're like, oh, here comes Cristobal. Keep it rolling. He's got Herbert. It's like, why are we running the ball on first down?
Ain't that the truth?
What is good? But you think you know a guy. Oregon State fans might think they know Trent Bray because he played at Oregon State. And you might think you know a guy because he was a coach as a defensive coordinator. Came in, plugged a hole, needed to be plugged in terms of a leak in the boat that almost derailed what was an unbelievable season. That first season, getting to a bowl game. Brenden, did they go to the Los Angeles Bowl presented by Jimmy Kimmel? If Trent Bray doesn't take over as defensive coordinator? Because that was that year, right?
Yeah, because they won 7 games that year. The way the schedule broke, they would have got 6, but I don't think they would have got 7.
Yeah.
And the other thing with that, too, Justin, is like you have to look at it with the good and the bad, right? So there are things that, like, maybe, like, Trent Bray, like, things that Jonathan Smith saw that was like, oh, maybe this is something that Trent Bray doesn't do good. And then on the positive side, Trent Bray's probably looking saying, well, I wouldn't do that if I was head coach, right? So it
That's
goes
exactly it. So, and
both
then you get into
ways.
that first year and you're like,
goes both ways.
Because, again, I go back to Oregon, and like Mike Bellotti used to tell everybody about every injury.
Mike Riley, man, he did.
It was a different time. It's like, hey, what happened? It's like, yeah, that's a hamstring. He's probably out 3 weeks. It's like, whoa. Actually, we weren't saying, well, at the time, that's just what coaches did. It's like, yeah, he pulled a hamstring. He's probably going to be out 3 weeks. Nope, that's a significant knee injury. He's lost for the year. Like, Bellotti would just come out and say it. And then Chip Kelly would be like, I don't know what a knee is. It's like, my favorite.
Still so true.
My favorite was LaMichael James in, I want to say it's 2010. It was the year he was 3rd in the Heisman voting. And against Cal, LaMichael James gets tackled, puts his hand down to brace himself, dislocates his elbow.
That was such an ugly play. I remember that.
Dislocates his elbow. And the replay was on the screen because nobody quite knew what was going on. And then they played the replay, and then they got it off real fast because it was really disgusting.
It was, man.
And after the game, it's like, hey, Chip, do you have a status update on LaMichael James? He's like, I don't know. I haven't been back to the locker room. And it's like
50,000 people saw.
Your best player's arm went the wrong way. Nobody told you? No, I don't know. Haven't been back there yet. I was like, oh, my God. Anyways, I did want to get to my not mine, my borrowed Michael Penix conspiracy theory. This one, tip of the cap to the wife. She brought this up because she asked me. She loves Michael Penix. Oh, boy, does she love Michael Penix. 3-0 against Oregon will do that for you. And so she's following along with Penix at Atlanta. And 2 very good. I mean, you thought Bo Nix looked good. Michael Penix looked good in his preseason games. Not surprising. Ball's got a lot of zip. He's incredibly talented. He's incredibly accurate. And then all of a sudden, Arizona's like, yep, Penix is not going to play week 3 in the preseason, which was a bit surprising because he's not particularly slated to play at all during the regular season because they signed Kirk Cousins to what? $20 million a year, something like that. What's Kirk Cousins signed to? I think he's somewhere
30 a year. It's like
$30 million a year. Yeah,
I think it's
is Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I think it's 140. No, excuse me, $100 million guaranteed. So no matter what, Justin, they owe him $100 million. A lot of Home Depot money for the Falcons, though.
Perfect.
So they're good.
So when my wife asked me, she's like, "Why wouldn't Penix play week 3?" And I go, "Well, you know, like they've already seen everything they need to see." And she goes, "Well, do you think they're doing it so that if Kirk Cousins maybe doesn't look that great, the last thing you want is the fan base now clamoring for the rookie, and so therefore they want to kind of shut him down because he goes out and has another good game, which he would in week 3 because that's when all of the guys who are on the cut bubble play. If he were to go out and carve up a team in week 3 and Kirk Cousins stumbles out of the gate, how long before, I don't know, my good friend and Atlanta radio personality, former host of this particular program, Andy Bunker and co., down there in Atlanta start going like, well, it's about time to give Penix a shot because the Falcons are in win-now mode. Didn't they just trade for a guy from New England? Help me out.
Matthew Judon.
Matthew Judon, thank you.
Yeah.
Just traded for him. They're bulking up. They are making moves. And the Kirk Cousins thing is clearly a win-now move. Let's give Kirk Cousins $100 million guaranteed because he can come in and he can win now. And the Falcons, by the looks of what they are doing, I don't know if they're going to win now, but they're in win now mode. And you know what you can't afford? Is a fan base and in particular media going like, are we sure we shouldn't have Penix out there playing?
Did the Falcons literally bid against themselves? Because I'm thinking in hindsight, Justin, we've talked about this. How many other teams were lining up to give Kirk Cousins that much? I'm not even saying, maybe half it, right? Maybe $50 million. Who else was giving him that kind of money?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'm a man knowledgeable of many things. I am not knowledgeable of the
inner workings of the Falcons.
The inner workings of the Atlanta Falcons or the bidding war on Kirk Cousins' free agency.
Post Achilles.
Post Achilles, Kirk Cousins. But regardless, the last thing you want though is if they start off slow, which they could happens in the NFL, and all that fan base is like, Penix was carving everybody up in the preseason, but because fans don't care about the economics. They don't care. Like, they care about winning and losing on Sundays or Mondays or Thursdays or sometimes Saturdays. But that's all the NFL fans care about. They don't care how much money they're paying a guy. Denver was paying Russell Wilson absurd amounts of money. They're like, get him out of here. So I found it very interesting that the Falcons were not going to play Penix in week 3. Clearly, they've seen all they need to see. And I think maybe they don't want the fans to see anymore. That being said, watch Kirk Cousins start off like 4-0. And I'm going to look like
he could be
big dumb doofus. All right, you know who's not a big dumb doofus? Is our good friend Joel Gunderson from ScoopDuck. He joins us next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, as I mentioned in the first hour, we are 12 days away from Oregon football kicking off their 2024 season at Autzen Stadium against the Vandals of Idaho, and obviously a ton of big games littered on the schedule. The excitement on this end of the microphone is palpable. I'm assuming it is probably equally on the other side of the line because we welcome in our good friend from ScoopDuck, Joel Gunderson, back on the big show. Gundy, how we doing, bud?
I'm doing well. How are you, my friend?
You know, I'm trying my best to live in the moment, and I'm not succeeding because I love the summer, and I don't want to take the summer for granted. But every time around this year, Gundy, I start looking ahead, and I'm planning out weekends and checking schedules and everything else. And I mean, August gets kind of shortchanged by me, and it's just going to have to be something I accept because I'm not living in the moment well. I'm living 12 days and beyond as we are sitting here right now.
Yeah, it's like both the best and the worst time because you just got all this anticipation building in, and you can spend your days thinking about it. But at the same time, it's like I don't want to wait anymore. I just want to see some action. So I'm with you. It's like it's fun, but let's just get it going.
Well, here's what's interesting to me. It's been a fairly, I think, quiet camp with Oregon, and I think ultimately that's a good. There's no quarterback battle. There's been a couple of injuries of note, but obviously I think Oregon has kind of kept injuries fairly close to the vest. Anyways, we know they've got a ton of talent, so there's going to be position battles everywhere, which I think is good, except at quarterback. It feels very quiet down there in Eugene for number 3 team in the country, but I think that's ultimately a good thing. What do you think?
Absolutely. You have stability in the coaching staff, other than a couple positional coaches, taking off, and I think in reality probably upgrading. You have the same system, offense and defense, same head coach. We saw a lot of Dylan Gabriel in the spring. He's very active. Lots of videos of his retreats and stuff. So you're getting lots of information other places than just relying on camp reports, and that's good. I think what you want at this point in Landon's tenure is business as usual, and you're relying on the growth of him as a coach, the growth of his staff, their ability to work together. They've spent the offseason accumulating more talent. Now it's time to just let those guys go to work behind the scenes. We'll get to enjoy the little snippets they put out here and there. And then, you won't see it fully unleashed on August 31st. That'll come a little bit more in later September, early October. But, you don't want to be hearing a whole bunch because that means either there are injuries of concern, something's not going well. Every once in a while you'll get a report of a player that's just standing out so much. But, that was almost a little bit more you'd hear that more often before recruiting really took off, when you had a guy that stood out so much above the rest. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit harder to do that now when they're bringing in the caliber of players they are, because the competition's so much better. So keep it quiet. Let us daydream, and then let those guys go to work.
It is interesting. Joel Gunderson from ScoopDuck joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. I think it was last year when really they ramped up the Oregon marketing machine with their Us Versus Them and the video series that, again, and I know I sound like a homer here, but you know what? I am one. They hit it nail on the head with the uniforms 20-some years ago, 25 years ago, Gundy. They hit the nail on the head with the billboards and the promotional stuff. And it's like, here it is again, Oregon out front in kind of understanding the pop culture world. They're putting out these very well-made promotional videos, and we're watching them like we watch everything else on our phone or on our screen, where I don't see a lot of other college football teams doing what Oregon is doing. And again, kind of creating almost like not their own Hard Knocks, but kind of their own little mini Netflix series that started last year.
I mean, the reality is it's not Hollywood, but when you're in this part of the country, you have Nike, you have Wieden and Kennedy, you have the business school at Oregon, the marketing program. I mean, it's a program, a university that's very well known in that industry, and for the fact that for a lot of years there wasn't a whole lot put out internally, I think it was a little bit of a misstep. Clearly, Coach Lanning feels differently, and you're never going to fully see under the hood of the car of what's going on, but he's given everybody a nice shiny view of everything else, and it's exactly what you want. Make no mistake, it's for fans, absolutely. This is for recruits. This is for kids that are wanting to know, hey, what's going on in Eugene? What's Oregon like? give them views that, there's a reason why those camp retreats were shown and the beauty of the nature where they were at. And you're getting a lot of, very quick cuts and loud sounds at practice and stuff. And they want to show recruits the intensity that you get when you get here, because Oregon still has a perception, I think, nationally, despite being a very cool, popular school, of what is it from a football standpoint. When you remove the uniforms, when you remove, the marketing and the colors, like, what is it like on the field? What's it like in the stadium? Because it's a small stadium. They played the Pac-12, which didn't have a lot of respect for many years. So this is another way for them to show potential kids, hey, we play big-time football here. We play real big boy football now. We're in the Big Ten. We might have a small stadium, but, boy, it gets loud. We really know how to hit. Like, we're an aggressive, nasty football team, and that's just a great way to show them what's going on here without having to relying on getting kids here, because they're recruiting nationally. They're not just going to California or Washington. They're going to Texas. They're going to Ohio. They're going to Florida. And sometimes instead of trying to get a kid and his family out here for a weekend, put these 30-minute videos together and show them, like, hey, here's a little insight into what we do. It's great. There's no reason why it shouldn't be happening in this day and age, when these schools basically have free reign to do whatever they want and show whatever they want, and they're not necessarily beholden to what the conference or what the TV stations want. Go out and do it. Promote yourself. Be the brand, not just a brand.
Joel, I'll confess something here, and I don't know if people want to hear this or not, but I've never been a fan of the Oregon coast. It has never been my favorite. I am a native Oregonian, probably because growing up and playing sports in the Far West League into places like Brenden and Gold Beach and Brookings, I rode a big yellow bus to the coast a ton in my life. I have never been a big fan of the coast, but I've been there enough to understand what it is all about. I just imagine, going back to that video that we talked about, some group of tourists, or like somebody's family from Ohio, like, came to visit their family in Oregon, and like, we're going to go show you Haystack Rock, and then to go out there to Cannon Beach at Haystack Rock and to see a bunch of 300+ pound defensive linemen doing drills. That's got to be a shock to the system.
Look, is it Malibu? No, but it's got a lot to offer, and it just shows the variety. You could be at the beach, you could be at the mountain, you can be out in the plains. Like, it's got a lot to offer. So I think it's cool, and they didn't hammer it home, but just little shots here and there, the sunset and the sunrise, and the coaches doing their thing. I think it was a nice touch. It's that's not what's going to get a 5-star wide receiver from Ohio to Oregon. But what it does is it cracks the door open a little bit. And maybe the mom sees something in the video. She's like, oh, that's really pretty. Like,
yes.
When we come out to visit you, we can go there. You have to win the parents. If you don't win the parents, you don't win these battles, especially when you're, trying to get kids to come 3,000 miles away. So there's a little bit of everything for a different variety of people in those videos.
Joel Gunderson from ScoopDuck joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. We talked about it last week. Gundy, I don't know if you saw this. October 12th, top 5 wedding dates in America, and we had a discussion as to how close you would have to be to attend a wedding on October 12th. I even said siblings. I would probably be out. I was like, I'll buy you a nice gift. Boy, how close would your family member have to be for you to attend a wedding on October 12th?
Well, I'm kind of out of this right now. Most of my family and friends are married. My niece got married a couple weekends ago, but I don't see any other ones on the horizon. So I don't have to worry about it. But for that type of weekend, I put on our family little calendar I share with my wife about 2 months ago. On that date, I said, Joel on the couch, do not disturb. And I said it for all day. So, yeah, it's kind of funny that happens. And you almost wonder if a lot of those are done out of spite at this point. I'm like, I keep hearing about this date. Let's do it. So choose your friends wisely. Choose your enemies even more. When it comes to fall weddings, because, it's you might see a lot of upset husbands and groomsmen and furious wives and bridesmaids, and it could be an awkward day. So is it worth it? I don't know. That's the question they have to ask themselves.
Exactly right. All right. So other than Oregon, you quite literally wrote the book on Boise State. And Boise State's fascinating to me, Gundy, this year, because obviously a common opponent for both Oregon and Oregon State. A lot of people have Boise bouncing back from maybe a week 2 loss against Oregon and still being in the college football playoff. And then it was announced that what I thought was going to be a done deal with Malachi Nelson transferring from USC, that he would win the starting job, and all of a sudden now he goes from being one of the top recruits in the country with Arch Manning going to USC to now out at Boise sitting on the bench. What happened? I know you follow recruiting closer than I do. What happened? Was that just a miss? Was there something that happened at USC? Were you as surprised as I was that news came down out of Boise?
I was, and I'm not following Boise as close as I was when I was, researching the book, but I do have a lot of contacts there still, and I did reach out to a couple people yesterday when that news came out. I'm like, what? And I think the perception is, can kind of just be a simple case of a lot of times these quarterbacks are overrated coming out of high school. And, it's not that Malachi doesn't have a ton of talent. I think he does. I think Boise State's very happy with the in-house quarterback that's got the job. And I think it's just, a case of just Malachi's not ready. Again, he's a true sophomore. Yeah. And, we get enamored with these quarterbacks that come in, and whether they're ready or not, get thrust into the limelight in year one. And sometimes we forget that, for decades, these guys sat and they learned and they watched and they grew. And then when their time came, they were a lot more seasoned. So just because he's not named quarterback for week one, it certainly doesn't mean that there's not a chance that Oregon doesn't see him in week two. But it just could be a case, I think, maybe a little bit overranked coming out of high school. When you make a switch after year one, instead of giving yourself a second year under a great quarterback coach like Lincoln Riley, you up and move to Boise, and you have a new system. And, so he's not only did he not give himself a chance to really gain some momentum at USC, he completely started over. So when you factor that in with also maybe just not being quite ready and a little bit overhyped, it's not surprising when you really dive into it. It's surprising when you hear the news because you assume a five-star quarterback that went to USC to go be under Lincoln Riley, when he takes a step down to go to a Mountain West program, like, well, he's the guy. You almost assume it's more of a Boise State has to make him the guy in order to get him there. So I think, kudos to the coaching staff, because I think that shows the rest of the players on that team, like, we're not going to favor the guys that we need to keep or want to keep. We're going to give it to the best guy, the guy who's ready. And I think that goes across positions. So it earns trust. Definitely surprised to hear it at first, but after doing a little digging, he's just not quite ready yet.
Joel Gunderson, friend of the program from ScoopDuck, joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. Speaking of quarterbacks growing, getting better, and then and ultimately flourishing. And I know you are a busy father, and the kids are not back at school yet, so I don't know how much or if any preseason NFL you have watched. But Bo Nix looked really good yesterday. He's looked good in 2 straight weeks, and I don't know if it's just the way Elon Musk ruined Twitter and just puts negativity in front of my face every day. But it seems like there's a lot of still haters out there for Bo Nix, which surprises me considering the years he had at Oregon before ultimately being drafted in the first round to the NFL. Is there still like an Auburn cloud hanging around Bo Nix? And when are people going to get over and realize that, no, this dude is just really good and really talented?
I think there's an Auburn cloud. I think the way he did it at Oregon probably rubbed people the wrong way of, he wasn't going to go down and just constantly shoot balls down the field. I mean, this is what he does. Coming into the draft, he was always going to be one of the highest floors, and not lowest ceilings, but, he didn't have the highest ceiling of this group, but he far and away had the highest floor. I mean, this is what he was going to do. He was going to come in, he was going to take command, he's going to hit the open receiver. And I'm sorry, if I'm an NFL coach, that's what I want my quarterback doing. I don't need him throwing the ball 7 yards further down the field with a much lower chance of completing the pass or a higher chance of an interception. Throw it 4 yards and get the completion, and let your skill players do what they're going to do. And in this day and age of it's all highlights, it's all quick cuts, it's all how fast can we what's catching people's attention. He's not going to be that quarterback, and that's what I think when you go on Twitter and stuff like that, that's where you get people that are just. It's also just people wanting to be negative just to be negative.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, if I'm a GM, and this is not just our Oregon bias, like, that's the type of quarterback I want leading my team, especially when you have a team or a franchise that has a good, set of skilled players and a good, building offensive line. You have a good coach in Sean Payton that clearly knows how to run an offense. Like, get a guy like that in there that's not going to make the mistake and put yourself in a position to then have to rely on everything else on the team. So I think it's great what he's doing. I'm not surprised by it. It's a little bit more disappointing to see, what Troy Franklin is not doing. I was hoping that was going to be a combination and connection that carried over from Oregon, but he really seems to be struggling, and not great things coming out of camp. But from a Knicks standpoint, I mean, if people were expecting anything different, then they clearly didn't watch Oregon and just read the news clippings about, oh, he's just a dink and dunk guy. This is all he is. I mean, this is what he did at Oregon. A little bit more exaggerated now, but he's going to be what he's going to be, and he's going to continue to grow. I don't know, he'll never be a top 5 quarterback in the league. He doesn't have that type of Herbert Mahomes arm, but he's going to be a guy that if he's with a franchise that is dedicated to winning and putting pieces around him, he's absolutely the type of quarterback that could take a team to a Super Bowl.
Joel Gunderson from ScoopDuck joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, we're in the middle of silly season, so we're going to end this with a silly question, a silly football question. This would be something you and your friends may have an argument after, maybe a couple of cocktails on a Saturday in the summer talking about football. But it was brought up during Big Ten Media Days. I think James Franklin brought it up. Gundy, what do you think if Oregon were to, unfortunately, not win the Big Ten? Let's say Ohio State wins the Big Ten. What's a better path? Is it to not be in the Big Ten championship game, maybe even go on the road for a first-round playoff game but get that week off, or to go to the Big Ten championship game and lose, get a first-round home playoff game, but coming off of a week and you're going to be playing a team that has likely had a week off? We have no exposure to this 12-team playoff in college football, and it felt like that's an interesting, would you rather, considering there's going to be some teams coming off of essentially a bye going up against teams coming off of that conference title game loss.
Yeah, I know one of the thoughts floating around right now is that the 5th seed might actually be the best seed in the entire playoff, because more than likely in the first round you are hosting the G5 winner. And then in the second round, you might be looking at a matchup against, Utah or whoever comes out of the Big 12, for example, or Clemson or Florida State, which, years ago you would have thought, don't want to face that. But, those teams seem to be on the next level down from the top 4 or 5 teams. So it's one of those things. It's going to be so interesting, I think, to see, do you see a program like Ohio State or Alabama or someone in there that clearly has a spot locked up? Do they phone it in? Do they look at a conference game or a conference championship game as an opportunity to rest people? And I don't think we'll get to that point. But no, it makes a very good argument of, do you want to finish 3rd in the Big Ten? Let those 2 teams go beat each other up, sit at home, and maybe you have a little bit tougher of a first round matchup, but it's still a very winnable game. And it's going to be that I think you hit on the head. That might be one of the most interesting aspects of this first couple years of the playoffs, is as these programs figure out and start to jockey for position a bit, which that's the downside of this. And I, you and I are traditionalists, and the win at every cost aspect of the week by week part of college football is the one thing that has been taken away from this. And I don't want to get to the point where if Oregon loses a game 2 or their second loss of the season in Madison at the end of the season, and it doesn't matter. That's not fun. That's where I don't want it to become the NFL in that sense. So you hope not. You hope that these teams attack every week as if they have to win because they don't have a spot guaranteed. We know that, that's not the reality. But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see if over these next couple of years, does the 5 seed look like they have the advantage? Because at that point, you might start seeing a whole lot of philosophy changes changing up over the couple of years.
It's going to be fascinating. Hey, Joel, thanks so much for the time. Enjoy the last little smidges of summer, even though you have kids, so I'm sure you're looking forward to shipping them back off to school. And we will, of course, look forward to talking to you again soon.
Hang in there 12 more days. Take a
12-day
nap if you need to. It's almost there. You've got it. You can do this.
All right, there you go. Joel Gunderson, boys and girls. We're more than halfway through the show, crying out loud. So it's pretty much 11, and then, don't really count next weekend. So are we down to single digits? Did you ever do that when you were a kid, like counting down days to Christmas? And you're like, well, today's over. And then you don't count Christmas Day. And then, Christmas Eve was still.
I like to count the days of summer. That was my thing.
Yeah.
Like how many days of summer were left?
Like, today's almost over.
It shouldn't surprise you, Justin. I counted down to Beaver season back then, too.
Yeah. Today's almost over. And then you don't count the weekend because we're going to. So it's like, pretty much just 4 days, really. All right. Coming up, stuff we saw on the internet. Some hot takes from the flag football community. We'll talk about that next. 620 Rip City Radio. Oh, we have got drama. We've got drama in the football world. No, not the NFL. No, not college football. No, not even high school football. Oh, we've got drama in the flag football world. Now, as some of you may know, the Olympics are coming to Los Angeles in 4 years, and in 2028 they will have, for the first time as an Olympic sport, flag football. Brenden, flag football is going to be in the Olympics in 4 years.
I think it's cool.
I think it's kind of cool, too.
The NFL pushed for it, so they had some interest.
Now, wait for it, because this is where it gets real interesting. This is where the drama comes in. Because breakdancing, they're out.
Thank goodness.
What was her name?
Oh, yes, I already forget. There have been too many, drama with, medals getting taken away. I'm not great with names, so I don't have the name.
Anyways, the Australian breakdancer ruined it for everyone.
Yeah, time to get rid of that.
Well, she didn't ruin it for everyone. I mean, whoever was in charge and let that happen. But breakdancing's out, and flag football is in because it's America. It's what we do. And there have been some promos because obviously they're wasting no time. They put Tom Cruise was jumping off a building with the Olympic flag in Paris. And I know at the closing ceremonies, didn't the Red Hot Chili Peppers were playing in LA as a passing of the literally passing of the torch. And one of the promos had Jalen Hurts throwing a flaming football over the cauldron over the top of the LA Coliseum. And a lot of people were like, is the NFL going to put NFL players in flag football? And I know that Tyreek Hill said he wants to play.
I tried to tell you.
He wants to win a gold medal. Now, we don't know what the whole plan is, but you know who's not happy about this? The current flag football players for Team USA. Yep, that's right. Current U.S. national flag football team quarterback Darrell Doucette told The Guardian, I think it's disrespectful that they automatically assume they're able to just join the Olympic team because of the person they are.
Well,
they didn't help grow this game and get to the Olympics. Oh, it gets better. Give the guys who helped this game get where it's at. Give them their respect. As Doucette continued, we just don't think you're going to be able to walk on the field and make an Olympic team because of your name, right? They still have to go out there and compete. Somebody going to let this guy know that,
you wouldn't have a sport if it wasn't for the people in the NFL, buddy boy.
Also, okay.
Yikes.
How about this? We'll compete one game, winner take all. That's it.
Yeah.
Because whomever is going to be on from the NFL, and it's in 4 years. All right, let's just say the NFL does what NBA did. And the NFL they're playing a game in Brazil this year, right? They played games in Mexico City, clearly the London thing, Germany. And the NFL has been very aggressive as of late of trying to get their game globally. They see what's going on in the NBA. The NBA, by the way, ratings are down. Overall interest in the NBA is down compared to past years, yet they just signed a record $77 billion TV deal. How on earth did the NBA do that? It's called worldwide eyeballs. That's what it is. Because while ratings are down in the United States and tanking and load management is not helping the sport, you know who doesn't care? People in Bosnia. They're still going to watch. Fans in Argentina. And most importantly, in China. Because the NBA, thanks to the 1992 Dream Team and their impact on the Olympics, is now a global brand. And those global eyeballs are what get you billions of dollars, even though your product is nowhere close to as good as it used to be. It's a worldwide game. So, the NFL is king of all sports in America right now, and they've been pushing to make it more and more worldwide. It's a little bit tough because no other countries play football the way that we play football, but the games in London, the games in Germany, they're going now to Brazil. They've been to Mexico City. Let's just say that the NFL decides, you know what? we're going to find, I don't know how many people are on a flag football team. I'm assuming about 20. Did you figure about 20? It's like 7-on-7, right?
Seems about right.
Let's just say it's 20. Math's easy. We're going to find 20 guys who want to play and represent the country. They're going to go play flag football. Old flag football team, you get one game. You get one game to try to compete. And we're going to give these guys about 5 minutes to practice together. They would stand no chance. I guess I understand what it's got to stink, because if you're like this guy, you're like, yeah, I'm the captain and quarterback of the U.S. flag football team, and while we're not NFL players, we're clearly going to win a gold medal. And then all of a sudden the rumor starts swirling. It's like, yeah, NFL players might be. It's like, well, they can't just show up, right? It's like, yeah, they can. They can and they will. Talked about this with the NFL, just in general. Don't let the NFL bully you, because they will win, and they will win every time.
I look at this, Justin, as, I remember when and kind of interesting, because I mentioned this to you and Pounce last week when we were talking, and, you guys both kind of chuckled a little bit, and you're like, I don't really know if NFL players are going to be there. And I said, well, the NFL was the one who said, we want to take our sport to the Olympics because we're tired of not having the biggest brand on an Olympic stage. Now, I think, truth be told, Justin, it's probably somewhere in the middle. It's not going to be great. It's not going to be bad. But just like, it will have more intrigue because there's going to be brands and athletes that you probably know.
Well, okay, so let's talk about this in the 90 seconds that we have, because I don't think it's going to be like the basketball team where you're going to get a dream team. Let's just say in 4 years, Caleb Williams is CJ Stroud. We know CJ Stroud's good, and he's going into year 2. In 4 years, CJ Stroud ain't going to be playing quarterback for the Olympic team. But what if it's like, the third string guy, like Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker's a tremendous quarterback, beat Alabama. He's like third string with the Lions, I think somewhere. That guy. What if it's him and maybe a couple of practice squad guys and guys that are on the bubble? They would still run roughshod over whatever flag football team has already put together. It wouldn't even be close. Does that do anything for the NFL? Or do you need Tyreek Hill, Caleb Williams,
you need a star.
Travis Kelce,
maybe it's like, maybe it's just one guy. Maybe 1 year it's a star running back, and, the rest kind of go around. But I think you need one star to kind of be like, hey, look, Matthew Stafford's on the Olympics, or hey, look, Tyreek Hill, kind of a thing.
Would it be more retired players or
That's
younger
interesting
guys?
Too. Might be something we get into and make or miss.
Also, if you're an owner, if I'm paying you anywhere close to top market value, you do not go to the Olympics. That's nope. All right, coming up next, we've got hour number 3. We do have a make or miss. Also, I want to play that clip from Tua Tagovailoa said something interesting over the weekend. We'll play that, and we've got an RCM mailbag. Jam-packed hour 3 next, 620 Rip City Radio.
8 a.m. here on a Monday. Brenden Slaughter with you. Bo Nix shines for the Denver Broncos in a 27-2 win over the Green Bay Packers. He went 8 of 9 with 2 touchdowns in 2 drives and appears to be the leader in the clubhouse for QB1. Over on the golf side, Hideki Matsuyama wins the 2024 FedEx St. Jude Championship. Over on the golf side of things and over in Boise, Maddox Manson was named the starting quarterback, edging out number one overall 2023 recruit and USC transfer Malachi Nelson. Coming up on the big show, we got Hour 3, Rip City Mornings.
Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. Coming up this hour, we have got a special third-hour edition of Make or Miss. We have also got a, what are we doing? A Rip City Mornings mailbag. That's what we call it. So that's going to be coming up as well. Brenden, how pumped up were you for that 47 seconds of Shaedon Sharpe cooking a bunch of kids in Canada video that went around the internet yesterday?
Yeah, it's smooth like water, man. Smooth like water. My goodness.
I mean, obviously, look, I am football crazy. I am football focused, as are you. But we talked a little bit of Blazers last week with the TV deal and then the schedule release. And it does seem kind of fun. Not funny. Funny's not the right word, but it's kind of fascinating, right? That you do have a guy that so many people were excited about in Shaedon Sharpe when they drafted him 2 years ago. And the fact that was the first, was that really the first official Blazers tank ever? I don't believe they were tanking for Hakeem Olajuwon.
They kind of shut it down for CJ that year. Dame's rookie year, when
that's a good point.
They were like, all right, let's go get us a backcourt mate. And then,
but I can't remember there was ever a time with like wink, nudge, like we are literally trying to lose as many games as possible.
Yeah, and obviously, Scoot's rookie season was what it was, Justin. But you go back to this last year. Part of the thing that was so disappointing, like everyone knew Portland wasn't going to be good. Just kind of like this year. But I think Shaedon Sharpe only played in like 30 games.
Yeah.
Like that injury, and everyone's just like, oh, like the one player we really wanted to see with a runway, he's out. So to see him healthy, and then, again, him not playing at Kentucky, working his way into the rotation as a young guy, we just still don't. It's crazy to think in year 3 we still don't know a lot about Shaedon Sharpe, which is crazy.
So much. And I think that's a product of tanking. I think it is. Like you're going to see some glimpses here and there, and hopefully next year you'll see some more glimpses of Scoot, and you'll see some more glimpses of Shaedon. But yeah, like I saw that video and I was like, that guy never played for the Blazers. Like they don't really put him in those situations. Now again, it's 40. How long was it? 47 seconds? Something like that?
Oh, no, it was like a minute 20, man.
Oh, minute 20.
Oh, yeah.
It was a minute
I watched
20.
It all.
And it was a pro-am in Canada, so it was like, I think some college kids and some pros. But he dropped 40-some points, and it was like, oh, yeah, that's right. He's kind of been like one of the forgotten guys of this Blazer rebuild. We all know he's there. But the fact that people are even insinuating that he, in year 3, who you drafted in the top 10, is going to be coming off the bench with that kind of ability is like, I don't think that's how you build a program or build a championship quality organization. Maybe he does come off the bench. I don't know.
I mean, the thing that's...
But it's just, I'm watching that video. I'm like, you were reminded, like, oh, that guy stays healthy.
Right.
Gets better. Like, that guy's still on the team.
Right. And you have to think, like, what he showed, not last year was hurt, but the end of his first year when they had officially leaned in and he was, pushing, I believe it was like, let's pull it up. Yeah, it was like 16, this last season, right? 25 games started at 16, 5, and 3 as far as his splits. And, I know we've overran the fun nicknames in comparison, but just let's go back. We used to, there was a time when we got drafted, we called him the young Kobe, right? And then it's like, I've said forever that I think he's got some...
We were trying to put that out into the universe. You know
right.
And trying to put it out there.
And you look at him, he brings all the shades of what you want as a shooting guard. I mentioned not too long ago, I'm like, there are shades of Klay Thompson in his game. The athleticism, shades of, being able to obviously dunk over anybody. but we have to see it. And
Yeah.
Justin, you mentioned forever, is he an alpha? And that is what I want to see this year if he's healthy. Is can he be like, hey, guys, no one else is doing it. Yeah, I'm going to put the load on, go get 40. You know what I mean?
The clips that and again, these are highlight clips, and I don't know who he's playing against, but
The pride of Canada, Justin.
if you were to see like some of those clips, because again, he's what, 20?
Well, let me put it this way.
20, going to be 21. Like if you were to see clips like this from a draft video, you'd be like, yeah, tank away, go get that guy.
What if that was Bronny's highlight tape?
That's what I'm saying.
Like, number one pick, if that's probably Bronny's highlight tape.
But either way, good thing was it was fun to watch, and it was like, all right, there's still some positivity heading into this season. Not a lot of expectations, but some positivity. You could have both. Speaking of positivity, I do want to talk about that. We've mentioned this multiple times about Mike McDaniel there in Miami, the Miami Dolphins head coach, and the work he had to do to be able to get Tua Tagovailoa, a guy that a lot of people, including his own organization, had all but written off. And Tua hasn't really talked a ton about it, but he was on with Dan Le Batard talking about the difference between Brian Flores and Mike McDaniel in terms of how they approached him as a quarterback. Here's a little bit of Tua Tagovailoa.
To put it in simplest terms, if you woke up every morning and I told you you suck at what you did, that you don't belong doing what you do, that you shouldn't be here, that this guy should be here, that you haven't earned this right, and then you have somebody else come in and tell you, dude, you are the best fit for this. Like, you are accurate, you are the best whatever, you are this, you are that. Like, how would it make you feel listening to one or the other? You see what I'm saying? And then you hear it, regardless of what it is, the good or the bad. And you hear it more and more, you start to actually believe that. I don't care who you are. You could be the president of the United States. You have a terrible person that's telling you things that you don't want to hear, or that you probably shouldn't be hearing. You're going to start to believe that about yourself.
So that's Tua talking about the difference between Brian Flores and Mike McDaniel. Now also,
no punches held, though.
But remember, like, Tua played for Nick Saban. Okay.
And Lincoln Riley. No. Sorry. Excuse me. Thinking of Jalen Hurts. Apologies.
Yeah, he played. So Tua played for Nick Saban. Not exactly cuddly, fuzzy, everybody's going to link arms and be best friends type of head coach, a guy that's clearly known to coach guys and motivate guys and coach guys hard. So it's fascinating to kind of hear, because I do think there is a difference in being able to coach guys hard and to try to motivate, and then also to just completely crush the confidence. And it's why I talk about with Saban. There is no way you can see the gruff exterior that he, I think, more than wanted to put out with the way he talked to reporters, and like talking about rat poison and everything else, and the way he coached on the sideline. There also had to be something else there, because there's no way you can just be a complete and utter you-know-what and be able to get high-end, top-tier talent year in and year out when it comes to recruiting. There has to be some sort of connection, charisma, like that, and that's the difference, right? You can coach guys hard if you have some charisma, and if you have kind of that special leadership qualities. And you can't really put your finger on it, but like there are just certain guys where players will be like, I don't want to disappoint that guy. And then there are certain times where you get coached hard, you're like, you know what, screw that guy. The last thing I want to do is get out of bed and play for that guy. And it turns out that might have been Brian Flores at Miami.
I mean,
and it probably didn't help that as you are going through your, I think, second year in the league, and they're like openly, now again, NFL's a man's league, right? It's the men's league. It's not show friends, it's show business. And sometimes You've got to deal with other people coming after your job, not just every single year, not just every single week. Every single week, somebody's trying to take your job. So, doesn't make for maybe the most mental health friendly working environment. That being said, I feel like Mike McDaniel will figure some things out with his quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I just hearing all this, like, no punches are being pulled. Like, obviously, he didn't, like, straight up, like, swear or anything like that. But, Justin, I have a little, it's just interesting to hear his perspective because I mentioned to you last week, there are 3 Oregon State players who are going to be starters this year who played for Colorado last year, right?
Yeah.
And have been asked, a couple of the guys have been pretty quiet. And as I mentioned last week, one guy was like, I didn't feel love there anymore. So I just wonder, like, and then you throw in the fact that, and I don't know if it's still ongoing, so just because, but like the fact that Brian Flores was then suing the NFL at the end of it, the fact that he was maybe wanting Tom Brady, the fact that he was infighting with the owner, like, it sounds like it happens.
It was
sometimes.
pretty dysfunctional.
It just toxic. I was toxic. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was pretty dysfunctional there, but I don't know. It was just, to me, it was just interesting to hear a quarterback actually come out and say that. Most quarterbacks don't talk like that. Even if you are like, well, I guess you kind of saw it towards the end if you watch the Dynasty documentary, where Tom Brady was like, I was just getting tired of getting dog cussed by Bill Belichick. Like, I've got 6 rings, a couple of MVPs. I'm one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and I'm just sitting there in the meeting room getting dog cussed out because Bill Belichick is trying to prove a point. It's like, I'm going to Tampa.
Get some sun, man.
Get some sun.
And Gronk, too.
I'm going to play for Bruce Arians, the guy who he's just going to let me do whatever I want. I might forget what down it is one particular game. It's not going to matter. I'm still going to be able to go and win a Super Bowl. So, even Tom, and I do think quarterback is different, right? I would imagine you want your defensive players hungry. You want your defensive players worried about losing their job because that's going to drive you and motivate you. Quarterback, sometimes you got to treat different players differently. And it sounds like cliche. It's like, what do you, Justin? Of course, you treat different players differently. Like, yeah. You got a guy like Tua who has a talent and ability and physical just ability above everybody else. And you sit there and tell him he sucks the whole time. It's like, oh, weird. You're not getting the most out of him. That had to be such a breath of fresh air. Like Mike McDaniel came in and was like, dude, you're good. Yeah. Hey, you're good. Not only that, I want you as my quarterback. And then he brought in smartly, because I don't know if you watch any of that Hard Knocks. He brought in Dan Marino, and Dan Marino was like, "Yeah, dude, you're good."
I mean, confidence is everything, Justin. Like, again, let's just put it into terms that is very relevant for us, and we'll close this out real quick. Like, every segment I go back and tell you how terrible you were. Well, yeah, I tell you. Yeah, like you sit there and go, Brenden, that sucked. I probably would be like,
well, I mean, don't tell the people that's when these microphones go off. I was like, all right.
I wouldn't be very motivated, but that is not how much fun we have here.
All right, we have got Make or Miss coming up next. But before we get to Make or Miss, I got to pull up the thing here and there, and I do want to let you know about Lazy Boy. That's right. Stuff the Bus. That's today. Today is the final day to stuff the bus. 10 miscellaneous school supply items or new backpacks to any of the 6 local Lazy Boy locations, including Salem and Eugene. You can receive 25% off your Lazy Boy purchase. Get all the details on the community page at ripcityradio.com. But help Lazy Boy and us here at Rip City Radio stuff the bus for school supplies for kids in need. We have got Make or Miss next, 620 Rip City Radio. Hey, Rip City Radio, that's us. And we want to take you, that's you, up to the ball game. That's right. Head over to the contest page at ripcityradio.com for your chance to score a pair of tickets to each game of the weekend homestand when the Seattle Mariners take on the Texas Rangers September 13th through the 15th at T-Mobile Park. Plus, 2 nights at Hotel 5. It's a Stay Pineapple Hotel with out-of-the-ordinary hotels in extraordinary locations. Enter today at ripcityradio.com. And remember, it is not too late to plan a trip to Seattle for a Mariners game this season at T-Mobile Park. Tickets, schedule, and all the information is at mariners.com. All right, let's get into a special third-hour edition of Make or Miss. Here we go.
All right, firing up, make or miss
Yeah,
today.
buddy.
Flag football will not draw interest without at least one NFL star on the team. I think you only need one. But
Okay.
You need a capstone, Justin.
Would say one of the better or a group of really good college players. Like, okay, think about this.
That'd be fine. Better than just people like the guy you talked about earlier who was complaining that it's not fair. Go play college football, bro.
That's true.
I don't. He already made an enemy out of me, Justin.
Well, it's got to be rough because you
That's
like you dedicate your life to flag football, right? And obviously he's not good enough to play college football, or I would have heard of him. And he's
Facts.
clearly not good enough to play in the NFL. And for those, by the way, that are just joining us, the current quarterback of the U.S. flag football team says it's not fair that NFL players just think they're, and it's disrespectful was the words he used, that NFL players think they're going to just show up. It's like, that's what they get to do. It's called being more talented. It's a tough spot. But I do feel bad because you think like, hey, 2028, we just got to hold on for 4 more years. And I might win I will. We're going to win a gold medal playing flag football. Nobody's going to be able to compete with us, even if we're just a bunch of really good old high school players. Now, that being said, we saw in 1992 the impact that professional athletes can have on the global stage. Like, you forget the amount of just eyeballs that are on the Olympics because of its worldwide appeal. I would be shocked if any owner in the NFL, would allow his starting quarterback, or heck, even his backup, to go and play 2 weeks of flag football at the Olympics. Now, what about a player like Dillon Gabriel this year? Now, obviously, the guy I'm talking about is somebody I don't even know. He's probably a high school junior right about now. But what happens in 4 years, you get a guy like Dillon Gabriel, who one of the front runners to win the Heisman, but his draft grade's going to be about fifth round, I think, at best. His draft grade was 7th round last year. That's why he went back to school, and that's why he's at Oregon right now. Really good, fun, athletic college quarterback, but doesn't really have a big NFL prospect. We see those guys every single year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, who's
I think a guy like that, like a guy like Dillon Gabriel.
You think he'll go pro?
I think so. Now that you get an extra quarterback on the roster, like they've got that emergency quarterback, but
like I think
he'll
of a guy
be
like
5th or 6th round.
Yeah, like I mentioned him earlier in the show, but to your point, Justin, I think of a guy like Anthony Gordon, right? When he was at Washington State, he had a brief little, I think he still practiced squad, but not really there.
Mm-hmm.
If memory serves, in 2019, Justin, only one player had more passing yards and touchdowns than Anthony Gordon. That dude was Joe Burrow.
He's pretty good.
Right? So that's kind of interesting.
All right,
I look at someone like that.
All right, new hypothetical.
Shoot.
New hypothetical. What if the NFL said, hey, we would love to grow the game, but the owners have voted no one that is on a current NFL roster will be able to play in the Olympics. We're not allowing it. The owners voted that. Would you rather be a NFL practice squad, late round, or maybe even undrafted free agent quarterback, or the quarterback of the U.S. gold medal winning flag football team? You would get a gold medal. You would not be in the NFL. What would you rather? Now, Carmelo Anthony says he would not trade his gold medals for championship rings, even if you offered. Well, nobody's offering, Carmelo, but what would you rather do? Let's just say, like, the Olympics were next year, and the rule would be like, hey, Dylan Gabriel, you could either be a 6th-round pick and likely be an emergency practice squad, don't even dress down quarterback, or you can go win a gold medal. What do you do?
Like I said before,
I think you go to the NFL, don't you? I think you go to the NFL.
There's more money there, obviously. But, like, in this hypothetical, like, maybe that's the middle ground, right? I'm not going to, because here's the thing. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but Justin, your, just odds of injury playing flag football probably go down in half. I don't have those numbers, right? So you think about it, guys.
Versus playing tackle football?
Yeah, like guys might not, guys might pull hamstrings. Maybe you get a bloody nose or whatever. But like, that's where I think anyone could play because I don't think there's a huge risk of like ACLs.
We don't know.
That's all I'm saying. Maybe.
It would be like to see dudes act, because we see them play flag football at the Pro Bowl. They're going like 50%. You know what I mean? Like, I would wonder what it would be like to see guys actually play 100% flag football to win a gold medal in the Olympics. I don't know. You step wrong, you know.
True. Knees are still stepping wrong and all that kind of stuff, for sure.
All right, so let me ask you this. Let's go another direction. Let's say, again,
lots of twists and turns in this hypothetical.
I love hypotheticals. They're my favorite thing. Let's just say flag football was in this year's Olympics. Let's say it was in this year's Olympics, but the NFL said, nope, only college guys can play. If you were Steve Sarkisian, would you let Quinn Ewers go play?
No, I'd tell Arch to go play. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know if I'd let any of my quarterbacks go play. Or receivers. Would you, if you were Dan Lanning, would you say, hey, Tez Johnson,
no.
You get to go for 2 weeks to go to Paris to represent the country, maybe win a gold medal?
Nah, Oregon's under lock and key, man. You ain't leaving my facility. You ain't leaving.
And that's where I think most teams are like that.
So, again, I've never seen this with my own eyes, Justin, but you'll appreciate this. The college football video game tells me Tez Johnson's the fastest player in America. So I'm just saying, I'm not going to let the fastest player in America go get even
that's what I'm saying.
An elbow bruise. But all that to say, Justin, you mentioned that. Like, I just think you have to look at the like the levels. Are you maybe not going to get the top guys, but like, tell me guys at Cal, Stanford,
or do you go get like
Oregon State? I mean, just the mid-tier. I'm not saying.
Or do you go get like the UFL guys?
Yeah, I don't like that because they're not even as known. They're not as well known as college players.
That's true,
right? So college
players. Again, are you gonna tell Tez Johnson or Jalen Milroe or who's the is that Ollie Gordon?
Yeah,
the guy at Oklahoma State. Like, even though I don't know if he might.
Okay,
he's still in trouble. But
let me ask you this: Would Jake Dickert or Trent Bray stop anybody from going to play? And I don't think, like, if and I don't mean this mean-spiritedly, but just like if Trent Bray's like, "Hey, Ben Gabranson, you got invited to go to the Olympics," I don't know. It's such a unique hypothetical that it's kind of silly to talk about. But like, I would assume they'd be able to get, like, if NFL's out, mid-tier college players. Like, maybe there'll be some guys who opt in, opt out, but I think there would be some guys who are like, yeah, I'll go, play for my country, get a gold medal, and maybe I take a redshirt year. Ooh, that.
So then you'd have to take a redshirt year. But then we're now going back against what we thought. Like, the whole reason to have these guys play is to put well-known, fairly big-name players out there.
Okay, move the Olympics to December, and we figured it out. Actually, January.
You could. But that's the thing. In the summer, you could legitimately do it, right? It's in July.
If you made flag football, like, this is never going to work, but think about it.
You could do it and then report to camp, and it's like, hey, here's my gold medal, everybody.
Yeah, I know, right? I think, like you said, it's injuries. That's the biggest thing.
I know.
If flag football, let's just, flip it.
And especially because now these college guys are making NIL money, and they're like,
But if it was
Can you imagine if you were like some booster and you paid some kid like, $800,000 and he pops an ACL in the Olympics and you're like, wait a minute.
That's a great point. But yeah,
you're here to score touchdowns for USC.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. If it was like, I think as ironic as it sounds, Justin, it'd be easier if it was a winter sport because winter's in January and you get so many kids who are like, yeah, season's done. We don't have training camp till August. Then that leaves room for an injury.
When I was a kid, like stuff you like had to learn as a kid, I was always confused why basketball was at the summer games. I was like, basketball's in the winter.
Great point.
I was like, basketball's in the winter. And I was like, yeah, if it's not ice or snow. I was like,
yeah,
oh, God.
like,
Got it. But when I was like 9 or like 8, point. I was like, what? Why isn't basketball in the Winter Olympics? It should be in the Summer Olympics.
Right. And it's like that's the thing is like when you look at it, like it could be. Like obviously swimming, track, there are sports like, no, you don't want to do that inside or at the rain, but like basketball is in, like Justin, they could totally do that. They could totally be like, hey, we're going to
Well, I don't think they want to, though, because then they don't want to do like hockey has to take like the Olympic break.
Right.
And they're like 2 weeks off so that everybody can go play. No, and the NBA is not going to do that. I don't know. It was just one of those things as a kid. I was like,
oh, it's fascinating. And
why is basketball at the Summer Olympics?
And this flag football rabbit hole is fascinating. I'm so excited to see what happens to this. Other side of the coin, just to throw it last, Justin, maybe it's recent retirees.
That's what I was thinking.
Like Jason Kelsey gets out there, man.
Well, I don't think you need linemen in flag football.
Okay, that's fair.
But
I thought you snap it still and block, no?
I don't know.
I haven't. It's bad.
I have no idea what the rules are.
I played a little as a kid. I just remember you pull the thing off to take somebody down, but you can still get physical, kind of.
I'm sure you could. I don't know what the Olympic flag football rules are. I don't know if you still snap it. But yeah, who is it? Like Tavon Austin just retired, so you get like Tavon Austin. Is Joe Flacco on a team? I think Joe Flacco's on a team somewhere.
Okay, so yeah, you will not be able to have no contact. You cannot physically contact anybody. Look at the official Olympic stuff right now. Play starts at a team's own 5-yard line. Center snaps the ball back to the quarterback.
So you need a center.
But
even though they don't really do anything. Are they eligible?
But then the center has to take off and go like
be a receiver.
Yeah,
got it.
So like again, nobody can touch. Like you will be penalized or whistled or whatever it is. So. This would be an interesting watch, Justin. Give me the fastest guys.
Like, okay, I did have to look it up. By the way, do you know Joe Flacco plays for the Colts?
I did not because I just told you I didn't think he had a team.
Yep.
So I appreciate you double checking me, Justin.
Joe Flacco's on the Colts. Well, I was just thinking that would be maybe the way to go.
Right.
Is you get Joe Flacco, you get Tavon Austin.
Best running back recently. Go get Todd Gurley out of retirement.
You get Todd Gurley. You get these
he
guys.
Has knees left.
That are like just retired.
Oh, where's Le'Veon Bell? Right, go get that guy out of retirement. I'll take Antonio Brown and all of his badness.
We can't put Antonio Brown on the team.
Oh,
but yeah,
this is getting fun.
In 4 years, when like Keenan Allen is retired,
it's true.
Great
pull.
Get that guy. Matthew Stafford's going to be retired by then. That's what you do. We fixed it.
You did.
We fixed it. Recent retirees.
What running backs can be out in 3-4 years?
Saquon.
Oh, great, yeah.
Is that mean-spirited?
No. It's
Saquon's
running back shelf life. It's entirely...
Derrick Henry?
Also will be probably...
Where's...
He went to your rival, Baltimore.
Baltimore.
With Lamar, man. That's why I'm scared about them Ravens. He's going to be so good if he's got like 1-2 years left in the tank.
That would be kind of fun, though. Like, you just retired from football. You, like, want to do something in the summer.
Gold medal. Boom.
And you're just like, boom, let's go play and win some gold medals, baby.
I think you keep it easy by saying... Every 4 years, plus or minus 1 to 2 years since being retired. Because, yeah, not like, because Justin, there'd be somebody, and I'm just using him as a bad example, but somebody like Richard Sherman who'd be like, yeah, I've been retired for 10 years. I want to do it. You know what I mean? So I think you keep it limited, but just, keep it to retirees. I like that a lot.
We fixed it. You're welcome, flag football. Also,
Send
apologies to the current flag football team. You guys are all out.
Yeah, sorry, bro.
Appreciate all the work you did. You're all fired. Get out.
Yeah, like winners get sprinkles, and well, you guys were winning until the real boys came into town. So I mean, seriously, Justin,
it is true though. It's like, dude, it's so disrespectful. It's like, sorry, bro.
I know, right?
We're here to win gold medals, and we're here to promote the sport and. you ain't doing it either.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you might win a gold medal, but you ain't doing
exactly
jack for promoting the sport.
Yeah. All right, let's get to one more here to close it out. Justin mentioned this with Joel Gunderson last hour, so definitely had to speak on it again. Maybe it's harsh, but if you can't win the starting job at Boise, it says something about Malachi Nelson.
This is going to be a problem moving forward with NIL, and it was already kind of a problem with the star system, where some, especially quarterbacks, but some players just get overrated. And it's not their fault, right? None of these players went out and said, hey, rate me 5 stars, please. They're happy to take it, and they're happy to take the NIL, and they're happy to take the recruitment, but some of these guys are just overrated. And then, like Bo Nix, or like a handful of quarterbacks that any of us have seen, where maybe they stumble a little bit their sophomore year, and then learn, grow, get better, and are back at it. But it's going to be a problem because the money is coming in.
Well,
the money that is going to be attached to these guys from being a 5-star QB and being, because like we don't say that about Arch Manning. Now, obviously, he's backing up Quinn Ewers.
Yeah, that's different. Because this dude.
But what I'm saying is like,
yeah,
maybe this is a coach kind of doing a little gamesmanship because he's got Oregon week 2 and is like, well, we're going to announce this guy as the starting. Who do they open up with? Do we
Boise?
know?
Yeah, let's look.
Does Boise open? They play Oregon State late in the season.
They do. Georgia Southern, so I think they'll be all right.
What if they're just playing a little gamesmanship because they week 2 is the game of their season.
It is.
Boise State
Dude, that game's on Peacock,
pulls off an upset late. It's on late.
Oh, Justin, I don't even want to be around you. I might call out that morning should that happen, or Monday morning, because my goodness, you like.
Well, no, you know the story, right? I'm going to be at a fall wedding that day. Yeah, I will not.
Game? I don't know if
I will not be at Oregon, Boise State.
Okay, maybe you told me
now,
that, but I completely forgot if you did.
My wife, who is a Washington Husky graduate,
sir,
goes to every Oregon game with me because her husband is obsessed. And she has to sit there and watch me and my doofusy friends high-five every touchdown that her hated Oregon Ducks and the rivals of her team, and she goes willingly and gleefully. I can give her one weekend to go to her friend's wedding. Well, because I was joking about this with Tyson Alger last week. I thought, okay, week 2, Oregon, Boise. Then it's like, that might be a preview of a first-round playoff matchup. Didn't realize, but
I think Boise,
Boise, that's
I think
Oregon week 2, they can make their season.
Yeah,
just playing close.
I think Boise will be sneaky, but I'll say this, Justin. The only thing that's kind of intriguing about Boise is a couple things this year. One is that there's a lot of expectations for a team that fired their coach at the middle of the season last year.
Yeah.
Okay, like Andy Avalos, tremendous defensive mind, Justin. You remember when he was running Oregon's defense.
I really liked it when he ran Oregon's defense.
Yeah, and, don't get me wrong, maybe needed to go, but regardless, they handled that. They bring in the new guy, and interestingly enough, Justin, Dirk Cutter, Boise State's OC. So lots of experience.
Former head coach,
yeah,
Dirk
in the
Cutter,
NFL.
who was also former Oregon assistant, Dirk Cutter, former Arizona State head coach, Dirk Cutter.
But I don't think they're going to be playoff bound this year. Maybe I'm wrong, but I see more like 7-8 wins for this team this year. I just don't see the hype.
You got the Beavs. Oregon plays them
at
like
beat the Beavs, though.
7:30, I think, is when they ultimately will kick that game off. Meanwhile, the Beavs play them at the end of the season at 9 a.m.
What's worse?
The day after Thanksgiving. All right, we have got an RCM mailbag to wrap up the big show next, 620 Rip City Radio. Hey, it's important for students to have the tools that they need for a successful school year. And to that end, we have partnered with our friends at Lazy Boy for the annual Stuff the Bus School Supply Drive. For those of you that like to wait till the last minute, it's here. It's the last minute because it is August 19th, the last day to donate a backpack or 10 miscellaneous school supply items at any of the 6 local Lazy Boy locations, including Salem and Eugene. And you can receive up to 25% off your Lazy Boy purchase. Some exclusions do apply. The Salvation Army will then distribute the donations to local families in need. As always, we thank you for your generosity. All the details on the community page at ripcityradio.com. Now, time for the RCM mailbag.
All right, Justin, find a big mailbag today. We're going to start with an extension of our conversation back in Make or Miss. Talking a little bit about kickoff times and how, for some reason, shape or form, probably TV was probably available, the Beavers and Boise State Broncos decided to play at 9 a.m.
Black Friday.
Yes. So I'm going to ask you, Joe, not specifically that matchup with those teams, but how would you attack a 9 a.m. kickoff the day after Black Friday, if, and not tailgating is not an option. Like, say you are a diehard tailgater, you are there every time, people rely on you. How would you attack a 9 a.m. kickoff if you wanted to do full-on tailgating?
All right, so obviously we're a couple of months away, and you're also talking to a guy that, as you know, because you're the same, gets up at vampire hours anyways. Already get up at vampire hours, but you got to prep the night before. And I think the fact that the day before is Thanksgiving, like Thanksgiving leftover tailgate sounds kind of fun. So you can cut off a bunch of prep time. I would assume 8, you want to at least start heading towards the stadium. I don't know the setup there. I believe is it Albertsons Stadium?
Big Albertsons people over there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We don't have Albertsons anymore, right? Safeway bought them all up?
Vice versa.
Albertsons bought up all the Safeways, but still call them Safeways?
Yes. That's why it's Albertsons Stadium, is Albertsons is still owning them all.
Albertsons was the victor in that battle.
So they're like, hey, we'll name the stadium, but we'll just call them Safeway. So
I was always an Albertsons guy.
I liked
in the
Albertsons
versus Safeway battle, I was always an Albertsons guy.
We had both.
Everybody had both. It was usually across the street from one another. You had to pick.
But it was kind of sad when the Albertsons went out. Justin's now a Hobby Lobby in Sherwood. Tragic.
Okay.
Tragic.
So, you want to get in there fairly early because I don't like missing kickoff, and I like all the pomp and the circumstance. That's what makes college football fun. So 8 o'clock. So now you're at 8.
Let's say they let you in.
You got to tailgate for at least an hour and a half.
Let's say they open the parking lot.
So now we're
at
at
5.
6:30.
They open the parking lot at 5.
Yeah, you got to get there by 6. You got to get. So probably means you leave in the house at 5, which means you're up 4:30.
Okay.
Like us.
Beautiful.
Every single
So
tough
are
day.
you going with something like? Are you going to go like?
Now it also depends. How confident are you in your team? Because if I'm confident in my team, I go, hey, we tailgate after 9 a.m. Game's over by 12:30.
Yeah.
Got more football on TV. We tailgate and we celebrate after. The problem is you lose. Because that's like Oregon games. Like usually like a 12:30 kickoff for Oregon, which I love and is my favorite. But for some people, that's a tough tailgate time. And they're like, yeah, we'll just meet up after. But I have been at some afters that were not so fun. It's tough. It's tough to do an after a tough
After a loss. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely tailgated. Like, to your point, I've done something along those lines. For food, Justin, say you are, you got your buddies coming down, whatever. Are you sticking with traditional tailgate food?
No,
or
you gotta
you
gotta go Thanksgiving leftovers,
right?
dude.
Or would you alternate, bring some turkey?
All the Thanksgiving leftovers get thrown out. That's nothing but.
Okay, yeah, because
I'm not even gonna get creative and do we're gonna try to make turkey sandwiches. No, it is just leftovers, plates and forks.
Yeah,
have at it.
Because typically that's not Thanksgiving items are not a top tailgate option. That's why I was kind of curious. But
now we have done this. Some friends of mine, for Civil War, when it was in and around. We made it kind of an extension of Thanksgiving because everybody always has. It's not a traditional tailgate food, but when it is around Thanksgiving, yeah, you just go with the leftovers.
Okay, that's
it's pretty
solid.
legit.
You know this, Justin. I like to take the road less traveled sometimes. Let's say that as far as like my taste, interest.
When the world zigs, Brenden chooses to zag.
Kind of, yeah.
And it's just in your wiring of like, everybody's going this way. I'm going to see what's over here.
Yep. And I'm curious, what do you think is the I've been to plenty of tailgates, just as you have been. I'm curious, what's a food that you've never seen in a tailgate that you're like, darn, that'd be solid. And I'm going to throw mine out. Chinese food. I have never seen Chinese food in a tailgate, but I bet it'd be solid, man. Just family style. Put them all in the vats. Like there's your.
That is definitely a take.
Yeah,
it really is. It is definitely a take.
Like
I don't.
Chinese food comes to mind. I don't see pizza a lot at tailgates either. Sometimes
pizza's tough at tailgate. Now, one thing we used to do is you would go get a Papa Murphy's and throw it on a Traeger.
Genius.
Yeah, because the Traeger's an oven, so you just pop the Traeger up to 425, and those were always the after. So it's like we would do a whole full tailgate, and then you would have a couple of Papa Murphy's sitting there, throw those back. Because if you don't do it that way, like pizza delivery to the tailgate, it's never going to be good.
Right. And
it's going to be cold. It's not going to sit well.
If they can get to you, too.
Well, you pick it up and bring it,
yeah.
and it's always going to be cold. So you do the Traeger, and you get the the Papa Murphy's.
Yeah, because those two come up as just kind of the off the wall things that I'm like, a couple years ago, Justin, I told you this. We did actually last year. We did Chinese on Christmas Eve for the first time ever. So something that
I did Chinese food on New Year's Eve. Fun.
Oh, yeah, there
fun.
you go. But like another thing that I thought like was off the wall. I'm like, oh, nobody would ever do like a fish fry at a tailgate. But I'm like, in the South, there's probably a lot of fish.
Around here, though, we need more fried stuff. More
okay, so that's
frying.
The consensus. More fried. Okay.
Yeah.
I hear it.
I'm all for that. We need more fried chicken, some fried fish.
Oh, fried chicken.
Yeah, down south, like...
You should make your, one of these tailgaters this year, Justin, make your homemade chicken you've been telling me about.
Might have to pull it off. I don't know. We'll see. Might have to pull it off. That would be so tough, though.
It is a lot of legwork to make chicken.
It's a lot of, I got to bring in the... Anyways, what's not tough is having a good time for 3 hours each and every morning. And big thanks to Joel Gunderson. Thanks to super producer Brenden. Thanks to all of you. Have a terrific Monday, everybody. We are back bright and early tomorrow morning here on 620 Rip City Radio.